Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. So the Saints beat the Panthers Sunday to finish 12-4. They're the 2 seed. It was a shellacking. The Saints sans some of their biggest stars, Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, the whole lot. You know the drill. Ty Montgomery goes off for over 100 yards, and the Saints end up 12-4. They win the division, sweep the division for the first time in the history of the NFC South. And Sean Payton obviously gearing up for another postseason run.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited to have that opportunity. We always know it's going to be competitive in each of the rounds. It's, with 7 teams this year, there'll be a lot of good football games next weekend. And, again, we feel like we're fortunate enough to be in the tournament. And that's all when you start the season, you start with winning your division and then the best seed you can possibly get. And we kind of go from there.
We're not going to go too deep of a dive into Saints Bears just yet. We have all week to do that, but some surface level things. Obviously, the single biggest question for New Orleans this week is going to be who's available. Mike Thomas, of course, was on the short-term IR. He did not play the final 3 games. The idea was rest him, get him as close to 100% as you can for the postseason and go make your run. Of course, guys like Deontay Harris. Think about how much that has impacted the Saints in the return game, not having Deontay Harris on the field. He well could be back for New Orleans. And of course, Alvin Kamara, who until Breeze's injury was, as we discussed here often, in the running for certainly Offensive Player of the Year and likely should have been in the running for MVP. Now, because he was one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL to go along with him scoring at an absurd rate. When Breeze left, obviously Kamara's role as a pass catcher diminished, his numbers diminished, but when Breeze returned, you saw that return, and then the 6 rushing touchdowns in Week 16. Kamara was incredible and is a major cog to the Saints making whatever postseason run they may make. You will likely also get back C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Patrick Robinson and Marcus Williams. Think about all the players you did not have in Carolina yesterday and still shellacked that division rival. Mighty impressive. We haven't seen this team hold. Now, we have seen the Saints play the Bears. And they did have Alvin Kamara the first go-around, 12 carries for 67 yards for Kamara on that day, but it was not a great offensive day for New Orleans. That was a 23-23 game that went to overtime, and the Saints won it on a Will Lutz field goal in overtime to win 26-23. Sean Payton was asked on Monday when he met with the media about Alvin Kamara, in part because Kamara in the COVID protocol would not be available until the weekend, meaning he would not practice this week. So Sean Payton was asked, would you play a guy on Sunday that doesn't practice all week?
Yeah, we'll see. I think it would depend on the player and the situation, but a lot of that'll be just our decision based on where we think we are with the week, the player. We got to be smart.
Oh, God. Whew. Sean, that was good. You're a comedy guy, Bray. You like where would you rate that on the comedic scale? Sean Payton, we'll have to see him play. Where would you rate that? The uncertainty as to whether or not Alvin Kamara is going to play against the Bears on Sunday.
Probably about a 6, only because Payton has to play from the real tees. He doesn't get the tee off early. He's got game to begin with.
Got it. So he's playing from the tips back there. He's not at the granny tees up front. Got
Big
it.
time.
No, I got it. Okay. Holy moly. Alvin Kamara is going to play against the Bears. The Saints have won in Chicago each of the last 2 years. A year ago, if you remember, it was that wackadoo game where the Saints were with Teddy Bridgewater still were just annihilating Chicago. The Bears had less than 100 yards of offense until 3 minutes to go in the game. The Saints take their foot off the gas. Bears hit a deep shot, get an onside kick, hit another deep shot. So the score looked better than it really was. But that was an absolute shellacking. Now the Saints this year go back to Chicago, and they played Nick Foles and the Bears. So this is a very different Bears team today than the one the Saints faced in Chicago earlier this year. That was a game where Nick Foles started, was 28 of 41. He threw for 272, a couple touchdowns and a pick. That team looks so different now with Mitch Trubisky inserted again, who's playing some of his best football, against, though, really lesser competition. And they've also got David Montgomery going. And then Trubisky just has a better rapport with Allen Robinson. So offensively, the Bears put up really nice performances late in the season against some pretty hapless teams. They put up 30 in a loss to the Lions. They put up 36 against the Texans. They put up 33 against the Vikings, 41 against the Jags. So you're like, man, are they really good? Well, actually, 3 of those 4 teams fired their coach. So they did it against awful teams in a spot where they were trying to push into the playoffs. And God bless them, they got there at 8-8. But then they lost to the Packers, 35-16. And I think the game we see in the Dome could be very similar to that game against Green Bay, where it was neck and neck early in that ball game, but ultimately the Packers too talented, too deep, and they just overtook Chicago, and it could be how it goes. Now, it is worth mentioning that if you're the Saints and you look at a guy like Kamara, for example, you can exhale because you don't have to worry about Kamara and COVID protocols the rest of the way. Because if you test positive for COVID-19, once you come out of those COVID protocols, you need not test again for 90 days. We talked about that a ton. So Kamara's good. But you do have the COVID question about the rest of your roster, and could you end up in the NFC Championship game and then the Wednesday before, the Saturday before, your whole half your roster comes in contact with COVID and contact tracing? Could that impact you? So Sean Payton was asked if they would go to sort of a mini bubble format for the postseason, similar, if you remember, to what they did in camp leading up to the season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's something that obviously, number one, is optional relative to the union and management council. So we're just trying to focus on this game and players being smart. Everyone, not just players. Coaches, front office, using good decisions relative to the size of the groups and people they're around.
It is worth mentioning, while that sort of preseason or training camp bubble, air quotes, was optional, the majority, if not all of the team, did it. So I think it's just much easier to get the attention and focus of your players when your goal is now in sight. This isn't the preseason. Now you're 4 wins away from hoisting a Lombardi trophy. Do what you have to do to lock in for legacy. Lock in for a month and have your legacy cemented for all time. That's what this team has in front of it right now. A team which is already playing great football, potentially going to add Kamara, Mike Thomas, Deontay Harris, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Marcus Williams back, P-Rob. I mean, you're going to be closest to full strength that you could be, and that's all we asked for all season long, was get into the tournament, be the highest seed possible, and just be healthy and be playing your best football come postseason. That's all that you could have hoped for if you're New Orleans, and that's where they are. They've been in this spot each of the last 3 years. They've come up snake eyes with some heartbreaking disappointments. Let this finally be the year. Go out and take care of business on Chicago and get off and running. Three wins put you in the Super Bowl, a game down in Tampa with a great shot with this team to win it all. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.